All right, welcome back to the show. I'm your basketball data nerd host, Lucas McNally. My guest today is a very special guest, arguably one of the greatest pro basketball careers to ever come from the state of Maine. Mr. Basketball himself, Troy Barnies. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Lucas. I appreciate it. This is gonna be fun.
I don't know how long you're going to be able to claim the best pro basketball career from the state of Maine. I think
Right.
Cooper might be coming for that.
That's why I'm just keep adding the years. I'm on year 13 right now. If I get to 20, then that's probably impossible to break, right?
That's like LeBron territory, you
I
know?
know. I'm I held my breath when I said that out loud, but who knows?
So year 13, you're in Lithuania, right?
No, I was in. I had played in Lithuania. I'm actually in
Okay.
Estonia.
Okay.
Estonia right
So
now. This year I was in the beginning of last year in Estonia as well, and then I went to Poland for a bigger contract. I left uh, Estonia last year, and then I came back to the team. But now I have a full year contract with the team here, so I no leaving. I was staying here the whole year.
that's fantastic. And
Yeah,
year 13, which is not a lot of guys make it to year 3, much less year 13.
for some reason this body is holding up, and I can't believe it. But I mean, till the wheels fall off, I guess I gotta keep it going. I mean, I feel good. I still love it. That's the most important thing. Like I think a lot of guys that I've played with and over the past plus decade is like guys keep getting paid the same money. The routine gets monotonous, and they just like say, you know what, I'd rather just go back home and work a normal job or do something different. For me, I don't feel that way at all, and I've been fortunate to be able to play as long as I have and continue to. But like, I'm still doing it because I still love it.
What are some of the tricks for keeping the body like going and having it not fall apart on you? As someone who is a runner who is constantly having his body fall apart on him.
Right. Like everyone gets bad luck. You step on someone's foot, you twist their ankle. You run too much, you jump too much, your knee starts hurting. You have knee problems, and I've had problems throughout my career for sure. I've had surgeries, but I think the number one thing that I kind of follow, like the number one rule I follow, is listen to your body. And I'm sure everyone's heard that before, but like you for me, like I think listen, if a pain hurts or something, I work on that. I start working on it immediately, even if it's like a 2 out of 10 pain, because I don't want it to add up. It will always add up, and my job is to take care of my body, so obviously I'm going to do that. But listening to your body also, for being my size, I'm 6'7", 215 pounds. I'm pretty flexible, and I think that's brought me a long way when it comes to having injury prevention. So I would say stretch and try to be as mobile and flexible as possible.
And that is that sort of a thing you learn over time because when you're 21, you're probably
Oh,
like,
for
2
sure.
out of 10, it's fine.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. You start learning more about yourself because a lot of guys, what, they play in high school. They play high school basketball. That's 4 years if they're lucky. And then if they're even more lucky, they get to play college basketball. That's 4 more years, maybe five max. And then most people stop after that, like actually, like competitively. And that's a good amount of time to understand yourself as a basketball player, but that's nothing compared to like you doing it year round. Like, perfect example, me for doing it over a decade now. Like, you really get to like understand your body and what you need to do and what you don't need to do, mentally and physically. It's crazy. Like, I've learned so much, and yeah, from me when I was 21 at UMaine to be 35 now overseas. Oh man, I wish I knew what I knew now back then. I'll tell you that.
One thing someone told me when I turned 40, he's like, you don't think it's going to happen, but man, like your body's just going to fall off a cliff. And I'm like, no, it'll be fine. And yeah, he was kind of right.
That's my worst nightmare. Is to 1 year now I'm 35. I just hit 35 last month. I think about this all the time. I think about like, okay, my body feels good this year, actually greater than it has felt in a while, and I'm gonna go into next year because I'm still gonna be playing. Spoiler alert. I'm gonna next year. Like, what happens if I have my summer like training and stuff, and I go into my 14th season and something happens, like, or my body starts feeling like it flips a switch and I'm completely different. Like I don't feel good at all. Like that's my worst nightmare. So how to avoid it, I don't know, but I mean, I guess I'm doing the right thing right now. So we'll see. I guess age
It
might change everything.
it comes for everyone eventually, but I mean, look at Tom
Yeah,
Brady. He was able to beat that for a while.
very true.
And then, I almost wonder if you see the things where they show like 30-year-olds in the 80s looked like 50-year-olds now. So, maybe 40, 42, maybe that's more viable than it was 10, 15 years ago.
That is true. And I will say, like in the locker room, in my locker room now, I get crap from all the guys because I'm the oldest guy on the team, obviously. Like that's locker room talk. But like I do get many compliments of like, damn, Troy, like you're moving really well. And then like guys are like, you're still dunking and doing all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, I don't think about it. I just do it. Like I prepare myself and I go do it. And then they're like 35 because like even some of these guys on my team, I got 22, 3, 25, 26, 27, 28, like all in their mid 20s, late 20s guys, and I'm doing. I guess what I'm doing on the court is amazing to them to see a 35-year-old do. I guess, but I mean, I guess it's a compliment. I'll take it.
I mean, hell, back in the 80s, they were smoking cigarettes in the locker room. So,
Oh yeah, no, I still there's still. I mean, not this year, but my first year overseas. That reminded me. The first year overseas, I was played in Turkey. And I had two teammates that during half times they would turn the shower on in the before the coaches came in to like have our little speech, and they would rip a butt real quick before the coaches came in. And I'm like, dude, what am I getting myself into?
what was like the big
Yeah,
culture
I'm like,
shock
oh
going
my
from
god.
Orono to over there? Because you're like not. I mean, these are Eastern Bloc countries, Turkey, places like that. That's not like going to Paris.
Yeah, I mean every country I've played in tons of them. They all have the little own cultures, and guys have their routines. Some of these 30-year-olds have their routines, and they'll never change. And if basketball stops, it stops. They're fine, so they don't care. And like, it's just surprising to see, like over the years and over each countries that I've been in, you see like these guys have their own routines and what they do, and just it's funny to me. I learn from it as well, but as well like it's just you know that adds to the culture shock of moving to a different country or already, so it's fun. I like the experiences.
And like how prevalent is English over there? I've been to Germany and it was pretty prevalent, but
Mm, it depends on the country. In Estonia, for sure, English is good. Like most people can speak English. I would say age gaps though. Like if you see someone that looks like they're in their late 50s to 60s, their English is probably, if you had to guess, their English is probably not great if they have any. But everyone under 40, under 50 almost here can speak English. So it is a really positive thing to live in a country where I can communicate with everybody. Unlike when I lived in Russia and the city that I lived in there, like basically nobody could speak English. Um,
do you,
there's been other countries too, on and off, like 50%. Like you never know if someone can or not. You try. If they don't, then you just kind of figure it out and move on. But like it depends on the country for sure.
did you ever have a situation where like you had a coach that barely spoke English and he's yelling things to you and you're like, dude, I don't know.
Yep. In Turkey, my first year, my coach barely he let's just say 0% English. I had my assistant coach literally on the sideline translating anything in practice at all times, or if he was saying something to the team and the assistant coach looked at me, he's like, "You don't need to know," and I'm like, "Okay, don't translate it then. I'm all set." But yeah,
Oh,
I've had like my coach this year. He says he has bad English, but he has like we can communicate. He understands everything I say. I understand everything he's saying by far. Like it's just some of these guys like compare themselves to us. For me, like I only speak English, so it's not fair for you to compare your English to my English. Like if we can communicate and we can understand everything we're saying to each other, then it's great to me. You know what I mean? So I don't make it a big deal because I feel like some people get embarrassed when they start speaking English sometimes. And I'm like, why? Like, I can't speak your language. So why don't you try and I'll make you feel as comfortable as possible. And most people do, so it's nice.
I mean, there's people from Eastport you have to do that with, where they barely speak English.
That's true. Yeah, anything past Orno and Old Town too, I think it kind of gets crazy.
It gets a little sketchy.
Yeah. The farther you go up I-95, I mean, I don't even understand the English they're speaking.
So I tried to go on your team's website and figure out. I was like, I'll do some research how it's going, and it did not go well. So how is I figured I'll just ask you, how's the season going so
Yeah,
far?
yeah. So I wish, oh man, I wish a lot of these, like I said, I've been in so many different countries over the years, and like having the ability for people back home, anyone to follow me from back home is borderline impossible because
It's
a
really
you can't
hard.
translate half of these websites. If I'm in an international league, you can, but like how would you know unless I post it on my social media platform? Like how would you know? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I kind of have to sometimes boost myself because people are interested all the time of like what's going on, how can I follow, blah blah blah, and I'm like, who's gonna do it? No one does, so I might as well. I mean, I get hit up by so many people about it, so I try to, but for the most part, like it's tough, and I understand it, and I also don't want to be the guy on my social media platforms like posting like this is how our team went, blah blah blah. These are the stats. Like I'm not, I'm just playing. Like like it's just I got used to it over the years. I'm not, I don't need that anymore. When we have good games and things are going well, or I want to share something, I do. But other than that, it's kind of like if you ask, I'll help. But if not, I leave it as it is. But you're asking about the season.
Yeah. So how's it going?
Yeah. Good. We're in two different leagues, so it's weird. Estonia
Okay.
is below Latvia, below Estonia, and then Lithuania. So it's the Baltic countries, the three countries. I'm playing in Estonia, but the Latvia and Estonia, they combine the leagues together. So we have like 16 teams or something like that. So I'm in the Estonian Latvian league, as well as just the Estonian league. So in the Latvian Estonian league, we're in eighth place. So we're in the last playoff spot right now, and our last game's on Saturday. It looks pretty solid for us to be in the playoffs, which is good because the top like five teams in the league are solid, like they're tough. And then in the Estonian league, we're in third place behind two other Estonian teams, which are really good. So right now, we're like, to be honest, from the last couple seasons, we're a little bit better than what it's been the last couple years for the team. So things are going well with us. We have one game left against literally the best team in the league on Saturday. It's going to be tough, but it doesn't affect our standings at all.
Okay.
Win or loss, win or loss. I mean, win would obviously be huge. It would bump us, but it's going to be tough. But it wouldn't really affect anything. And then playoffs for the Latvian Estonian league start the following weekend. So like right into things, like not much time off.
Oh wow. And so then how long is the playoffs?
Yeah, so playoffs is 3 game series in the quarters, 3 game series in the semis, and then this is the Latvian Estonian league. And then for the final four, it's one game. So if it's say 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3, it's one game, and then it's the gold medal series and then the bronze medal series. And then so when
Cool.
that's set and done, and that's going to be until mid to end of April sometime. When that's done, we have to play in the Estonian playoffs, and that starts up the whole thing all over again.
So there's two different playoff runs back to back.
Pretty much. Yep.
That's weird. That's very
Yep.
weird.
It is weird. And but like I like it because it keeps us like motivated and like kind of like hungry about it,
Hmm.
so when we're focused on this playoffs right now and see how that goes, and we're all in on that, and then we'll have like a couple days to like reset, and then time to focus on one more thing because it's the end of the season. It's like we're all been here. Like I've been here for 8 months now. It's a 10-month season, so like you
Hmm.
want something to like go after. If it's you're playing one game a week and you got like 1 month of it, you just start like getting lazy about it. So this is nice. Like I actually don't mind it.
And then when that's over, you come back to Maine for a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I always do, but I think my wife is Norwegian, so she lives in
Right.
Norway. and I will be going to Norway directly after my season for like a good month to spend time with her and her family, and then I'll come to Maine. So probably like end of June ish, if I had to guess.
Cool. So what okay, so this is a question I had. Is there a league, not necessarily because of the maybe the quality of play in the league, obviously, like, there's the NBA and all that, but is there a
Mm-hmm.
league that you would want to play in, maybe because it's a place you've always wanted to live or something like
Yeah,
that, or just
that's
a
a
league
fair.
that's always intrigued you?
Yeah, I mean, when I got overseas and I started understanding about the leagues and like the levels of the leagues and like
Hmm.
what countries have the best basketball, who pays the most, obviously, like
That would be
all
the
of
good
this
one.
stuff. Yeah, like I always was intrigued with Germany.
Hmm.
I don't know why. I They were always, when I started playing overseas and learning, like Germany was always top. They always had the top teams in each in their BBL. It's the top league in that country. They always did well in the World Cup stuff and all that. And I don't know. It was always Germany or France too, because when you hear about like NBA guys coming, like going from overseas to the NBA, you hear guys from France because they're huge, or super talented. I don't know. So it's always been that. I've never had the connections to get there. I probably could have. I've had some offers from teams, but money or contract wise or fit, you want to find the right situation. I've just seemed to always end up in the eastern side of Europe, and I'm okay with that, obviously.
Hmm.
But yeah, different now in my career. This would have been like probably a stronger possibility back then, 8 years ago. But because I'm 35 now, I mean, I'm not showing any way of like slowing down at all by any means. Like I haven't shown like he's a liability because of injuries, and I haven't shown any of that. So, but there's a lot of clubs over here and a lot of coaches, especially that recruit the players, that aren't a fan of like the older guys. But then
Hmm.
there's the opposite. There's always teams and coaches that are like, we need these experienced guy. We need an experienced guy. We need an older guy on the team, and stuff like that. So it like just depends. It's tough. Like I sit down with my agent. We talk about what's the best option. What would be the best fit? If it works out, it works out. It doesn't, it doesn't. 13 years overseas, for the most part, every season I've made it work. So can't be too mad about that stuff.
Cool. Yeah. So at some point, they're going, well, he's been around a while. We want this veteran guy to show the young kids the ropes.
Yeah,
And
like
that's a big factor.
intensity, how to be a professional on and off the court, locker room guy. That's important stuff. Are you a good guy? Are you a good person? Are you get along with everyone? You're not an asshole, or like you're not a problem on the court where like these like oh, this my teammate's not passing me the ball ever. He's selfish. He doesn't play defense. Like is he not that guy? Like there's so many like different variability like variables about what kind of players these teams want.
How much of a factor do you think that is in being able to stick around and like not being an asshole? Because at some level, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you're a pain in the ass to deal with, then there's another guy over here who's got just as much talent and he's nice,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. um it's different because some teams like they'll get away with getting a talented player for cheap, so they kind of got to put up with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
They're like, oh man, like he's averaging 18 points a game, but he's a complete dick to everyone. But we're winning and he's doing well for us. Like we got to deal with it. Like there's players like that. There's many of them, but it just depends. Like it's funny to see. It's a pain in the ass to be a part of when you have teammates like that. But I mean, that's basketball. Like it is a team sport, but in the long run, like if you have these guys that are super talented, sometimes you have to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, you get Sean Penn in your movie. He's going to be a pain in the ass to work with, but he's Sean
Yep.
Penn, and he's got 2 Oscars, so he gets to be a pain in the ass.
Exactly. If he's giving everyone crap and on the set or whatever, and but the job is getting done and the movie's going to be great, then I guess you just got to swallow your pride.
Yeah, and you can't do that if you're like the fifth guy on the call sheet. They're like, no, you just go, look
Mm,
at somebody else.
yep. Yep.
So, what would you say? Because a lot of the people who are going to listen to this are, they've got kids in high school or they're in high school or something like that. What would you say to someone
Right.
who their kid, let's say they're maybe seventh, eighth grade, whatever? Like, what do they need to be
Yep.
doing if they want to have, like, hit this lottery ticket of playing pro ball?
What do they need to be doing? Well, they need to be have a basketball in their hands basically every single day until they die. That's for sure. They need to be doing stuff with basketball, ball hand guards. Guards don't need to be working on big man stuff. Big men need to start work on guard stuff. You need to be try to be the most all around player ever. If you can't finish, left hand hooks as a big man, you better work on that. If you're a guard and everyone's going under on your ball screens, well, you better start working on that shot. You need to be consistent in every single part of the game. And on top of that, you need to take care of your body. So you need to start. I mean, I wouldn't say like start lifting heavy in seventh and eighth grade, but like
Hmm.
you need to start putting some weights up, and you need to start working on flexibility and strength for sure. Because I will when I retire eventually, and I have a speech, and I'm talking about like how did I get here, and like oh my god, like I'm so blessed, like all that. I'm gonna for sure say I'm for sure saying the biggest part of me getting to Division 1 and then after that figuring it out and getting to be a professional basketball player was the fact that I was in the weight room and I got after it in the weight room and I did the right things. Huge part of my success, and then obviously the basketball part of it is a big deal there, but like I was a skinny, tall, lanky basketball player in high school. I was athletic. I figured basketball out really fast and I got away with murder. But I worked on my game. I worked on my strength. I put on weight because I needed to. I would have been thrown around in the Division 1 level. And I worked on my quickness because, you if you're 6'7", you play a 3 or 4 position, a small forward or power forward, like you got to be able to guard guards and you got to be able to guard bigs. So you got to find a happy medium with yourself. So anyway, long story short, as a seventh and eighth grader, I wouldn't worry so much about that, but I would start thinking about it for sure. But like I said, all around, you have to be able to do everything good at least right now in the seventh and eighth grade.
And I would imagine, being 6'7", you're just a big for a very long time, and then you get to D1 and you're no longer a big. You're
Yep.
a three, and all of a sudden you got to guard twos and you got to guard point guards in switches and things like that. And if you're just playing big ball down on the block the whole time, then that's gonna not go well.
And yeah, exactly. Like another thing when I'm saying all around player, be versatile. If you're a versatile player, coaches love that. That's the main reason why I've gotten a lot of big jobs overseas because I'm versatile. I can do a little of everything. So I can switch onto all these guards. So our defensive principles, switch with the threes and the fours, switch one through four. Why not? Troy can guard guards. Switch with the if Troy doesn't have to play defense on the pick and roll, just switch him onto the big. He can fight with a big for 5 6 seconds at a time. You know what I mean? So like it's easy for these guys like coaches at any level, to be honest, to see like, oh, this player can do this a little bit, a little of this, and they use that. You you that's why I say like work on everything and be good at everything. You don't have to be amazing at everything. Be great at like one or two things, but be good at the rest. That way you can be a versatile player and be used by any coach and not just like specific coaches.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, even if you're watching this like a Celtics game or something, the 7 footers have to get out there and they have to, they don't have to guard Steph Curry, but they've got to like not get embarrassed by Steph Curry if they want to stay on the floor.
Yep, keep them in front, put your hand up, make it a little bit hard and see what happens. But other than that, it's like you see it if you watch the NBA. I don't really watch the NBA. I like watching college basketball better. Obviously, I watch a lot of pro basketball like EuroLeague here, but
Hmm.
um, college basketball is phenomenal to watch because you can see the tactics from each coach individually for each team, what they do on guys, how they play. And like I hope a lot of like we were talking about seventh and eighth graders, even in freshmen in high school, are watching college basketball, like high level college basketball, because they can learn a lot from it.
Who do you really like in college basketball right now?
I've liked UConn. I've liked UConn. I like the way they play. I'm obviously I don't follow a lot of teams. It's really hard for me since the time difference. Like I'll wake
Sure.
up and scroll Twitter and see highlights and watch stuff. Like, but other than that, like I like the way UConn played. I grew up liking North Carolina because of Michael Jordan, obviously.
Sure.
But yeah, and I really liked Gordon Hayward's Butler team. I really liked the way they played.
Yeah, that was a really fun team to watch.
Yeah. So like
Has
teams like that.
has the Indiana State phenomenon, did that get over there with the
Uh,
guy who went viral, Robbie Avila?
say it again.
So one of the teams that went viral over here this year was Indiana State with Robbie Avila.
Oh
Um,
yeah, cream bat something, right?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
I think they
yeah.
called him Larry Nerd. I think was one of the nicknames.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. I mean, some of the teammates we brought it up. It will be in the group chat and stuff. We joke around about it and stuff. But like, yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll see guys like that overseas, like that you have to play against, and you're like, this guy
Sure.
looks like a bum, and then he goes for 20 for no reason, and you're like, wait, what?
Oh yeah, you always have to be aware of the guy who looks like a bum. Any
Yeah.
sport, if the guy rolls up, the men's league and he's like out of shape and just this big dude, you're like, oh, this guy is gonna be a nightmare.
Yep. And I've seen the highlights of him, and I'm like, man, he just knows how to play. Like he doesn't try anything he can't do. He just like takes whatever's given to him, and I appreciate that as a basketball player.
In running, if you're at a race and a dude ever shows up in jean shorts, you're toast. There's,
Yep.
you will never beat the dude in jean shorts. I don't know
See,
what it
so
is.
you know the like the NBA players, like they got the cameras when they're walking in the arenas, and they're always
Yeah.
dressed up weird and stuff. I would wear jean shorts one game and see if I could get buckets that game, and then I'd be viral for the rest of my life.
All right. So you in the summer you come over and you work with a lot of people. I think you worked with John Shea quite a bit before he
Yep.
won Mr. Basketball. What is your like sort of 100-foot view of the state of the players from Maine right now?
Oh, it's tough because I don't know what to compare them to. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I've seen like big time players and stuff. Obviously, Cooper Flag, like you got to talk about him. But like the general main basketball player, like high school basketball player, man, it's tough because some kids are so talented, like they're so good, and I've seen them play. Like you got players all over the state that can play. It doesn't matter the class, but like it's situation, teammates, like maybe they don't have the best team like that they're on, or maybe like this kid can really play, but can his game translate to Division 2 or one?
Right.
You'll see a lot of guys playing Division 3 from Maine. Um, it's tough to say. Like I don't know like exactly how to put my finger on it, to be honest. I love talking about this stuff because like guys like John Shea, like John had the body and everything to play Division 1. Obviously, he's injury ridden right now, but
Right.
like who knows? Like, could he have? I mean, if he stays at Maine or not, I don't know his situation at all. Like we talk, but I don't butt into his business like that unless he asks. But could he have gone to Division 2 and been a leading scorer on a team right out the gate? Probably. Could I have played at Division 2 or 3 and had a great 4 years instead of a great only last 2 years? You know what I mean? Like it's
Hmm.
hard to tell. Like you saw, like I always bring this up. Like you remember Keegan Highland
Yeah.
when he went to Gonzaga, and we're like, holy crap, like good for him. And then he
Gonzaga, yeah.
left, and then he went to Fairfield, and then he went to Vermont or whatever. And I'm like, man, it's all about fit sometimes, and all about like it's just tough. But like it's the same with high school basketball, like in Maine. Like some coaches are very strict when it comes to who can do what with their roles on the team, and obviously you've seen and heard parents sometimes don't like that. But then also it's like,
Parents don't like anything.
no, I get that. I've heard it's gotten a lot worse over the last couple years. Um, But yeah, it's who knows.
You'll like this story. I was sitting at a game and I somehow got stuck next to this parent, and she's complaining the entire game about how her kid doesn't get enough minutes. Obviously, your kid doesn't get enough minutes. He's off the bench. He's like the 4 or the 5 on this team, and he's not
Mm,
good. Like he's getting more minutes than he needs to be getting, honestly. And she just wouldn't shut up. And so at some point, I just looked at her and I went, "Your son doesn't start and leads this team in turnovers," and that kind of shut her up.
yep, good. It's really nice to hear that because oh man, I'm not a parent right now, but if I become one and my kid somehow enjoys basketball as much as I have and plays, I promise I will not be that parent, even though I think maybe the coach is doing something horrible and it's whatever. It's not my job to butt into that, and I think that affects the kid both ways. I don't know if that's good. Um,
Yeah.
perfect example. Perfect example. How Coach Adams, Mike Adams, has handled the situation with his son being, on the team and him coaching his own son on a good team in Class Double A. Like the way he's handled it has been great. Has he gotten stuff from parents? Of course he has. Like, what? Who? I mean, these some of these parents get so mad. They're like, "Well, he's playing his son," and blah blah blah. Like, you don't understand. I work out every single day, twice a day during the summertime, getting after it. His son, Marshall, did everything I did, if more. He did more. And then he has to travel for basketball and do all this stuff. That kid put in the time. So, yeah, if my son is practicing every single day, working on his stuff, and one parent's complaining about their son not playing over him because of he because they rebounded from their kid in in their driveway for 10 minutes, then I don't want to hear it and it's annoying. You know
I
what I
think
mean?
sometimes, yeah, I think sometimes the coach's kid or like the teacher's kid and just in school gets it harder than anyone because there's an overcorrection from their parent to make sure they're not showing favoritism,
For sure. For
you
sure.
know?
And it's tough to how put yourself in their shoes. Like how would you handle that? You know what I mean? Like you can't be too defensive because then it'll make it seem like the situation, you're defending yourself, like who
Right.
knows.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I know some coaches, like, it's a thing where some coaches have stopped coaching because their kid's going to be on the team or because their kid's playing. And they're like, I don't want to coach. I just want to be the dad.
Mm,
Or the mom, and sitting in the stands and just yell at the refs. And then some coaches very much want to coach their kids. So who knows?
yeah,
It goes both
right.
ways.
Yep.
I think I would be like you. I think I would want to be in the stands just yelling at the refs and not at the
Yep.
coach. That's more
Yep.
fun to yell at
Yep.
the refs anyway.
Yeah, because they hear from yeah, exactly. They hear from us every single day. They see us every single day. Then they won't take basketball as serious as they would if someone else was the boss. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
think
that's how
really
I would look at it.
if you're the parent, I think the thing you can do is be supportive of the coaching staff. And, if it was someone like you, then you would be like, look, if I'm imagining here, that you would go, hey, if you guys need help from me, you want me to come in and
Right.
show people drills or anything like that, I'm here. But other than that, you know, this is your
This
team.
is your show. This is your show. I'm here just to support.
All right. So one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on is I wanted to talk shot
Yeah,
clock with you.
let's do it.
This is how I talked you into doing this. Um, how important is the shot clock in terms of the how difficult does it make the transition to the next level being not having the shot clock where everybody else did? Let's start there.
Uh, so if I had to rate it 1 out of 10, one being not important at all, and 10 being the most important, my answer is 10, the most important. It
Really?
is very important. Yes, 100%. The game completely changes when you have to adjust shot selection in games, not only as an individual, but as a team. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, it's funny because in the locker room after our practice today, everyone's like, "What are you guys doing?" And I'm like, "I got a podcast to do tonight," and they're, "What are you going to talk about?" And I brought up, I'm like, "We're going to talk about lot of stuff, but Maine basketball, high school basketball, does not have shot clocks, and a lot of schools in America don't have shot clocks at a high school
Hmm.
level. And a lot of my European teammates were like, "Wait, what?" Because over here, these kids are playing 12, 13, 14 years old in middle school level age with shot clocks
Wow.
here. They're playing with shot clocks. So I was like, "Yeah, we don't have shot clocks. I didn't have a shot clock in high school. They still don't." And I explained to them like because they don't obviously follow like high school like American sports like I do. Explaining to them, they're like, yeah, there's games where like these coaches will just tell their players to hold the ball for like minutes on end, passing it back and forth, and they're shocked. They were shocked in the locker room today.
Do you
Yeah, I
think
mean that's obviously the worst part of it, but like there's many other reasons why there's got to be a shot clock.
do you think that's part of the reason that the European players are having so much success now is that they're dealing with the shot clock so much younger than even the states here that have the shot clock?
Yes. Yep. Basketball IQ is higher because of it as well. Not saying just because of having a shot clock, but like I said, time and score. Don't know that. The only time you practice time and score in Maine high school basketball is at the end of a half or an end of a game.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You don't
Hmm.
know, go 2 for 1, 2 for 1, go get a quick bucket so they have a 20, 30, let's say 30-second shot clock possession, and then you get the ball before the end of the end of the quarter ends. Do you know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
little things like that. Like, I was talking about culture shock overseas, like with different rules, like or even whatever. It's a culture shock from high school players to go to college and be like, oh, I have a whole practice dedicated to just clock situations. Like, what is this? Do you know what I
Wow.
mean? How are we
Yeah.
supposed to? How are we supposed to like prepare these kids for the next level? They're not doing it, in high school. Like, how? That's another
So
reason.
so it's not just a situation of, oh, we're going to eliminate the stall at the end of the game, but it's
No,
it's
that's a
possession
lot
by
of like
possession.
dumb people's excuse, but that's not the number one reason. Honestly, they see
Yeah.
one highlight of a team holding the ball for like 2 minutes straight, and the score ends up being at the end of the game 24-23. Obviously, that's horrible to see as a basketball fan and play, obviously, but like that they only see that in highlights. They don't see like the other side of it.
What are some of the things like that? What are some of the other things?
All right, let's say you have a really good team. your your coach has known to stall, but like your team is really good. How are you supposed to get like decent stats and okay, your team's winning. How are you supposed to show yourself as a basketball player if you guys aren't doing anything offensively to try to score? So it's like recruiting wise, like that's such a bad look for players. Am I wrong?
No, yeah, I agree.
And obviously it's not all the time like, play basketball. We all. It's like an unwritten rule in I expect when I was there in Maine high school basketball, it was an unwritten rule that you don't hold the ball. You play, just play.
Yeah.
It maybe at the end of the game you'll hold it for a little bit longer and see if they try to foul or they try to make something happen defensively. But like for the most part, it's an unwritten rule. It shouldn't even be an unwritten rule. There should be big red numbers on both sides of the court showing that you got to shoot the ball at 9, 8, 7, so everyone's on the same page. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, when I played, I don't think anyone stalled. I mean, the only stall you'd get like final minute, you're up like four in the final minute and you're going to make them foul you, that
Yep.
sort of thing, which
Yep.
totally makes sense. But there was no stalling. This year in the tournament, I saw, I think, 30 games with a stall.
30?
30. It was,
Holy crap! I thought you were gonna say like 4, maybe.
no,
Oh my
it was
god!
75% of the games I saw had a stall. I saw a team stall in the first half
No way.
and
How
it
did it
cost them the
change?
game.
How so they lost a lot of possessions, and the other team scored when they had the ball, and they lost.
Well, what was crazy was so this was the Portland Wyndham game in the semifinals in Double A, and Portland had Wyndham on the ropes, and they had him like dead to rights. They were on tilt, and it was put your throat on their necks and the game. And they went into a stall for some reason, and then Wyndham figured it out, And then in the second half, they came back and won, and they lost all the momentum, and they could have run them out of the gym, and they
Yep.
didn't, and they had that window, and then they end up losing the game. And then Wyndham stalled at the end of the game, and I was just ready to strangle people.
Huh.
It was
That's
painful.
so interesting to hear.
Yeah, I mean, there
It,
was someone was stalling with up 5 in the third quarter.
oh my God.
It
And
was
so
yeah,
we're talking stalling as in like holding it for an extra 10 seconds or literally just holding it until the defense does something.
sort of doing the keep away weave sort of thing, four
Oh yeah.
corners thing, because part of it is they changed the foul rules, and then it made more sense to stall because you're just trying to win one game. It wasn't a big issue in the regular season, because in the regular season, if you lose, you're like, yeah, whatever, we got another game. But
Right.
you're in a one and done situation. You want to advance, so
Yeah.
it makes sense in that capacity. And if you're a coach, you're only worried about your game. You're not worried about the other 8 games that day, where everybody is thinking the same thing, and it just gets real painful after a while.
Mm. Oh, yeah. No, trust me, I know. Every time I see on Twitter anything that has to do with shot clock related, I always have to, yep, I agree.
Do you think having the shot clock, does it change, like, I may have already asked you this, but does it change possessions in ways, like, I kind of figure if you have to sort of learn to get into your actions faster, things like that, if you have a shot clock, even if we're talking like in the first quarter.
Yeah. It's we were talking about shot selection, running plays like certain, you could have say you have a double stagger play where there's a lot of running going on, a lot of action. You need a good amount of time to do that. With a shot clock, obviously you could run whatever, I mean, without a shot clock, you can do whatever you want because there's no rush. But like with a shot clock, it changes everything. It's all about time management. And that's
Mm-hmm.
a massive thing in college basketball is time management. So like again, translation from high school basketball to college basketball in America is wild because a lot of these kids are just surprised of how different basketball can be when there's a timestamp on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, because you got to run your set, and then if it doesn't work, you've got to have enough time to run another set, or at least do something else, so you're not just throwing the ball at the rim.
Exactly. Shot selection. Expect if I have the ball in the post and I'm dribbling or I haven't even dribbled yet and I'm looking to score and everyone's sinking in and everyone's playing good defense. If I look up and I see the shot clock at 6, 5, 4, well, I got to make a move right now. I have to be a playmaker, not only for myself but maybe for my teammates. Now you don't even there's no rush to that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't
Yeah,
need to rush into that. You can look up and see the play clock and be like, oh, we got 5 minutes left in the quarter. I'm chilling. I'll just swing the ball 10 more times and see if I can get it in a better position. That's okay. I get like that's the way it's played right now because it has to be, but that it will be completely different if there was a shot clock. The right
sure.
way if there was a shot clock.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I noticed, and I just wasn't paying attention to it before because it was after it was arguing with people about shot clocks, is you get down to like the last 4 or 5 seconds, you can do a lot more in those 4 or 5 seconds than you think you can.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like, there's been just a lot of times where recently I've noticed this, where I'm like, oh, this is going to be the guy who's taking the shot, and then there's a pass, and then another guy takes the shot just
Yep.
before the thing, and that's just, I think that goes towards your time management, and also being smart enough to make that extra pass, because and get just an even better look.
Yeah, exactly. So you're I'm gonna piggyback on what you just said. That translating into college, obviously say you're trying to be aggressive at the rim and you don't get a good look. The defense sinks in, help side's there, someone's in your face. You got to find someone that's open, but you also have to know the time and you have to know
Mm-hmm.
when to find someone get a better shot. And I would say probably 99% of college basketball coaches always, I mean, everyone, all coaches love the extra pass. They always love to find the open guys. But
Oh
like,
yeah.
are you really looking for that when there's no like time limit on it? Are you really though? Because you can find an open
Yep.
shot, but what if he's not a shooter? Just swing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But defensively, tactically, him shoot it because I say this kid can't shoot a three. I'm just gonna play help and help everything. But in a shot clock, he has to shoot that. But in like the game now with no shot clock, he doesn't have to shoot that. He'll just pivot, hand it off to someone else, and they'll find a better shot in 1 minute of play. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like
Uh
it's hard to. Ugh, I hate it. I could talk about this forever.
huh. What do you say? So one of the big arguments against the shot clock is that people are just going to be rushing and taking bad shots, and it's just going to be rush, 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 bad shot, bad shot, bad shot. What do you say to that?
You mean if there is a shot clock?
Yeah, a shot clock is just going to have people like, I don't know, they seem to think they're just going to start throwing the ball at the rim.
Oh, there's going to be growing pains with it for sure. There's going to be some time, but like I'd rather see that growing pain than the what you were talking about of teams stalling forever and everyone falling asleep in the stands. And it's not about the stands. It's not about the parents, fans at all. It's about the two teams playing, obviously. But I'm just saying, for basketball standpoint, the game itself, like, it needs to change. It has to. Um, I, but I've seen arguments about it.
Mm-hmm.
Shot clock, no shot clock, blah 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 blah. One of the main, if not the main reason, is money. Uh, Getting the clocks themselves, installing the equipment and into the schools. I saw some tweet saying there's what around 1,300 schools, if give or take. Um, so that would have to be done. Then you'd have to pay or pray that someone volunteers to run the clocks itself. What happens if it's a really big game and someone messes up the shot clock, the time, and someone that's running the clock costs someone the game, like in a big game. Like I get that, but like if they do it here in Europe at like middle school ages, and they pick people off the street to run the clocks, they train them, get them done, and then they do them. Then why can't we? What's the difference? There's zero difference.
I mean, there's at least one game a year where they screw up the main clock and it,
Yeah,
and it impacts the game. So,
that's true.
you
So, but
know,
imagine every single possession. I can sympathize with that being a problem as well down the road. But like that's part of the game. That
right.
has to be a part of the game. We're living 20 years behind on everybody. I mean, a lot of other American states don't have shot clocks in high school either, but like, oh, some do, and we're way behind on that, and we're already
It's
way
over
behind
half now.
anyway. Over half.
It's
Perfect.
over half,
That
yeah.
defends what I'm saying. So it's like we're already behind already. We're a smaller state. We're spread out hard. We only have a couple big cities and big schools. Other than that, it's like whoever's got three cousins and their brothers are really good at basketball because they played together growing up, have a good team, then it's going to be hard to get, 12 guys on a roster that are decent. I get that. Maine basketball is different. How many Division 1 players do you get a year from Maine?
Not many.
It's obviously increased a lot over the years, but
Hmm.
back in my day, it used to be only like one or two, and we were superstars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there are 9 Mainers in the tournament right now, men's and women's.
Nine
Wh-
men together, nine total that are going to play Division 1 next year.
No, no, 9 that are currently in March
Oh,
Madness.
currently, right. Yeah. No, see, like it's been way better over the last like 15 years for sure.
I that's got to be the most. I think it's the most
Yeah,
that
it's only
we've ever had.
increasing and it's going slow, and we can't expect to, be our state be an overnight sensation. I mean, Cooper Flag's holding the crown on that one, but I'm just saying, like
It's
it's
so
it's tough
weird.
with us Mainers.
It's the Cooper Flag thing. Just a quick divergent. I
Mm-hmm.
always figured the first Mainer to play in the NBA would be like a Sam Hauser type,
Yep.
who was in the G League and was just a white dude who could shoot lights out and would sort of work his way into a 10-day contract and something like that, and then turn into a rotation player. I didn't think it would be the number one pick in the draft.
Right. I know.
It's so weird.
I know it is weird being like seeing like the top 10 basketball players like projected drafts, Slam Basketball Magazine, all this, and you see like a kid from Newport, Maine. You're like, yes, like in your head. You know what I
So
mean?
So I wanted to piggyback that. I'll stop the divergent there. On what you said. So the fact that we don't necessarily produce the type of physical specimens that other states do, that you're like, you're Texas or something, or Florida or something like that, does that make the shot clock that much more important because you've got to have a higher basketball IQ to compete with a
Yeah,
guy with guys
yeah.
like that?
Eventually, I don't know how long it would take. It'd just be a projection, but eventually, the level of play because of it will increase, and it will be. It might happen overnight. It might not, but it will increase for sure. And you'll be seeing a lot of more college coaches coming up to Maine to watch some players than you have as of recent years. You
Do
know
you
what I
think
mean?
they don't come up now because we're just not, like, it's too far, or is it
Yeah,
just
I mean, I would say it's too far, A, but also it's like, do I want to buy a ticket from, say, this coach is from Miami? Do I want to buy a round ticket all the way to Bangor, Maine to watch a game in Orono High School for one kid that's like in the middle of my recruiting list? Do I
right?
want to waste that money? Like I'm only putting myself in coach's shoes, but they really wanted them, they would really, they would make it work. But it's tough. Like geographically, like we're not the greatest either. Like you'd have to fly into either Portland or Bangor for the most part, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
you that makes sense.
you other than a player like obviously Cooper, who is at the level where it's like, man, like this needs to be done. I need to go recruit. I need to see him play live. It's like you don't really got those players right now. I don't
Right.
mean to say that like to downgrade anyone in Maine, any basketball player in Maine, girls or boys. But I'm just saying, like, that's kind of the level it takes, like, on these mid-major, high-level schools are looking for, because they'll go to a random gym in Texas and they'll see three of these the same kids in a pickup game, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. So if you're in, let's say you're in Florida, and if you're looking at a guy and you're like, well, this guy is maybe going to be a rotation guy. He might be, our fourth best player, let's say. We think he might be our fourth best player, but he's the only guy on the trip, and you got to fly all the way to Maine, and you got to rent a car, and you got to get a hotel to go to Orono to do all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and it's one dude, and you're looking at this one dude. Although Orono's maybe got two dudes now, but anyway, you
Yeah.
or I can go, down the Panhandle, and I can go to a game where there's four of them.
Yep.
Then, I mean, that's just basic math at that point,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
For sure.
Or you're going to look at someone on tape, maybe. So then you're going to look at the Orono kid on tape, or you're going to hope he plays in an AAU event that you're going to anyway. And you can see
Yeah.
him there. But then, I don't know, is AAU that great for recruiting people?
It was back in my day, but not anymore. Now it's
Why,
just
why do you
parents
think that is?
putting teams to it's now it's like parents putting teams together and trying to get their kid on it and get as most minutes as possible, traveling games all over the place, just games after games. And don't get me wrong, games are good, but are these kids actually learning how to play the game and use their talent in a basketball like tactical setting? No, they're just playing. It's glorified pickup for the most
Yeah,
part, unless
that's
a coach
what I
has like
wondered.
one or two plays. Yeah. So and then it's I hate to say this, but it's true. Like it's money grabs for some of these people. It's money grabs. Oh, you want to be on this AAU team? Yeah, you're good enough, but it's going to be $800 for the summer for each kid, and it
Jeez.
probably doesn't cost that much to travel to these games, so they're pocketing probably some money and stuff like that. I don't know how it works very much. I have an idea, but like
Mm-hmm.
maybe that was happening when I was in AAU. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe that was, but the level was different. Like if you got invited on an AAU team when I was in high school, you knew you were good. But now it's
Mm-hmm.
like everyone's on an AAU team. Like everyone, you got say you got 11 guys on the Ever Little high school basketball team. Probably all 11 are on some AAU team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, at some level, doing something.
It doesn't age or whatever they do. Like for me, like it'd be like, oh, that guy's on an AAU team. That means he's probably top five player in the state. That guy's on an AAU team. Like that was back in the day. Now it's just like, what AAU team you on?
And you get in an AAU
You know what I mean?
tournament, you're not going to be also playing against a team coached by like Scott Graffam, who's going to be game planning specific things for you.
Exactly. Yep.
They're just going to go, oh, who we playing this game? That guy looks good. He looks tall. That kid looks like he can shoot. Stuff like that. So I mean, it's probably, I'm imagining it's a lot easier to play in those situations where they're not game planning for you.
Yeah, no, for sure. And another thing, like kind of adding on to it, is obviously we talked about Cooper Flag, but I want to use him as an example with this situation. Like uh, Cooper Flag and Nokomis won the state championship freshman year with his team and his brother and everyone. Did he stay in Maine for 3 more years? Of course not. Why would he? But
No,
why? That's the
you'd be
question.
crazy too.
Why? Why? Yeah, no, for sure. But like, when is it going to get to a point in Maine basketball where like staying was probably the better thing?
Right. And I mean, I think that's a little bit of a hyperbole because he went to Montverde and that's,
Yeah,
that's just the basketball factory. But if you're Tegan Pelletier, we need to get good enough so that Tegan Pelletier stays.
right.
If you get a
No, no,
once in
for
a
sure.
generational guy, he's gonna go because that's you're talking
Oh
about
yeah,
the
yeah,
number one
yeah,
pick
yeah.
of the draft.
And that was an exaggeration with him. But I'm just
Right.
saying, like a really good player out of Maine. I'm not saying go to Maine like the Black Bears. Like obviously, I'm biased with that anytime. But I'm just saying, like in general, like what is it going to take to get all of our players in the state to kind of not stay in the state, but like not have to go somewhere else to get better basketball? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of them prep. I mean, we're starting to look at Mr. Basketball for next season, and that's Cooper's year, and it's maybe less wide open than it was before the tournament started. But we're just looking around, going, Jesus, like the top six guys all went prep. Like the
Right.
top six Mr. Basketball candidates are all gone. So who's Mr. Basketball? And everyone went, geez, I don't know.
That's crazy because now imagine the guys, the players in Maine, girls or guys. I'm speaking both genders here, both
Hmm.
sides of the game. Imagine like these elite players are leaving, and that kind of opens up for the not second tier, but basically second tier players to have a chance to be Mr. Basketball in the state of Maine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it
but
kind of
it's
opens that up a little bit too, because say Cooper Flag stayed in Maine for 4 years, obviously who's going to win Mr. Basketball his senior year? No one
yeah,
else will ever have a chance. But now that
right.
he's gone and he's doing his own thing and hopefully gets to the level we think he all can play at, like it opens up for other players to be like, oh well, now I have a chance, I guess.
And it looks like I think the front runner right now is from Noble, which if I had told you that 6 years ago, you might have fallen out of your chair.
Right. Yep.
So I mean that's kind of wild.
I mean, it's great for some of these kids. Honestly, we got to look at the positives too, though, and that's great. But I've always been an advocate for Maine basketball. I always will be till the day I die. And I like to brainstorm and just think of how long run or short run we can get the level to move up slowly possible. You know, yeah.
What's the thing you would do if they put you in charge of the MPA tomorrow and you were like king of basketball in Maine? What would you do other than a shot clock?
Right. What would I do? I would advertise basketball. I would try to get each AD in each school to advertise basketball more, to get basketball more popular. I think that's where it needs to
Hmm.
start. Because a lot of programs, like a lot of schools, and I don't know who's the best, sports programs in the state now. I used to back in the day, but I don't much anymore. Like, you know, this is probably a bad example, but let's say Portland. Portland's a football school, but like, how can they get the basketball up there? Not only with the talent wise, but like popularity wise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Another example was like doing things in the community with your team. Like when I was in high school, Coach Adams would have us do a bunch of stuff with people outside of the school, and people would like us. People got to know us, and liked us more, and more people would come to our games. Every game in my senior year was packed. The Every Little Gym, the old one, was packed. But nowadays, it's not because a lot of these people don't even know these kids. A lot of
Right.
their own classmates don't even know these kids because obviously times have changed and whatever's happened in the school that whatever. But I think for me, I would slowly try to change the popularity at every school, and I'd start from the top and work my way to the bottom. I don't know how. I mean, how I would do that, but like you want people to want to try out for the basketball team because not only like a big deal, but also you'll be popular or whatever, blah blah. But also that will increase the level of competition against each other, and
Right.
then the level of commitment. So I would kind of like make. I know it's tough because kids play three sports. Some kind of small basketball programs for each school in the summertime because I know a lot of schools don't do anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of schools that don't do anything, and then there's ones who do a lot in the summer, and surprise, surprise, those are the good programs.
Yep, yep.
It's just a shocker.
So like I wouldn't force them to. I understand everyone these coaches have their lives. They want their summertime. They're most of them are teachers to be honest.
Right.
So like they got the summer off and blah blah blah. Like I get it. Everyone's different. No one has to love and bleed basketball as much as like a Mike Adams. Do you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
what I'm saying is like the mentality around it needs to change. I don't know how exactly, but I think I try to start a brainstorming around that. It's tough. It's tough when like our state is small, but it's big at the same time.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, there's a
like
lot of space.
yeah, a lot, and want all the best teams to play against each other in the summertime all the time, but travel restricts that or time cramps or whatever. Like you got to keep that level up all the time and not just every once in a while, or it's just gonna just be a roller coaster of Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. The program I grew up in is one of the good programs, and it's been like a really strong program for a very long time because there's a strong youth program,
Mm-hmm.
and the coaches have run that program historically for like since I was a kid. And so then I live now in a different district that's like next door. And so when I went to sign my kid up for like kindergarten basketball, they were like, "Oh, it's at the Y and it's $100 and whatever." And I'm like, "For kindergarten basketball?" So then I call my brother up and I go, "How much is kindergarten basketball in our hometown?" He goes, "It's $20." And so
Yikes!
surprise, surprise, surprise. Guess which program does better historically and is more consistent?
Right? Yeah,
Because
that makes sense too.
My kid doesn't care about basketball. He cares about Minecraft. But
Yeah.
you get him. That's when you get the ball in their hands and they get a little bit used to it, and then they start to very slowly figure it out. And that's how you turn into a basketball player. There's not very many of
Mm-hmm.
these kids who were 5 years old dribbling around their driveway and
Yep, that's true.
playing on the toy hoops because they got other things to do.
Oh, for sure. And most of the time, it's like how we were all at that age. You know how hard it is to like want and need to like dedicate yourself at such a young age to one thing to get really good at it. Like you got to
Yeah,
really love it out the gate, or if you don't and it's just a hobby, then it's just gonna be like whatever to you, and you're gonna be a whatever player. To be honest.
yeah. You're either Tiger Woods playing when you're 4, or
Yeah.
you figure it out when you're like in the 5th grade. You're like, oh wait, I'm kind of good at this, and
Right.
then then that's where it
I
is.
see it all the time. I coach. I do clinics and stuff during the summertime. In Maine, I'll coach young kids, second graders, third, fourth, move all the way up, all the young kids, and you'll be like, that kid is good for his age. Like, holy crap, like he's really good. And I've seen it because obviously I'm old now and a vet. So like I've seen these kids grow up into high school players, and I'm like, he's still good. He's actually better
Hmm.
than when he was like, and I'm like, it's rare to see that one player where like, oh, he's solid, like he has a lot of potential, and then it never hits. Like he never reaches that potential. And I'm not talking like, oh, he's gonna be amazing. I'm saying like you can get a lot better than where you're at now, but they never do. What's the
Right,
reason?
right.
You
Yeah, we
know?
had some of those when I was younger, and I think a couple of them were drugs. So there's that,
Mm, yep.
and then there's just other things, or they get into something else and they fall in with a different crowd, or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So
I've
it's
seen it where girlfriends like ruin it. This one kid will be in a
yeah,
relationship for 4 years and they just like basketball is the second priority. And then, oh, you're a frat boy in college. Not that that's being a bad thing. Just saying.
well, that's one reason you need the good youth program helps is because you also don't know which kid is going to grow 6 inches before their freshman year,
That is
and
true.
all of a sudden you're like, oh, where did this kid come from?
Yep. I
You
will
know?
say, like, on my behalf, I was pretty lucky. Like, like being 6'6" when I was in high school was a blessing, and I could work from that. Thank God. I grew 2 inches every year in high school. I was 6'2" as a freshman, and that's still tall in Maine.
Oh yeah.
And 2 inches every year, all the way to my senior year. And now I grew like a little bit in college, but like I was blessed. But I used it. I didn't take that for advantage. Take advantage of that. I've seen kids that shoot up just like I'm already bigger than everyone, so I don't really have to work as hard as everyone else. Like it
Hmm.
can't be like that if you want to play it, college basketball but even at a higher level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We
But it's
I
not fair for
remember
these kids to think like that at that young age. Well, go ahead, go ahead.
I won't name the kid, but there was a kid I saw, as a sophomore, and he was on the JVs, and he was not good. And it's one
Mm-hmm.
of those things where you want to be like, buddy, maybe chess is your thing, that sort of player. And then I don't know what happened that summer, but he came back junior year and he was awesome. And
Yep.
like I think it just all clicked for him, or he like grew 2 inches and maybe he figured out how to move his arms and legs after a
Right.
growth spurt or something like that, and it just clicked for him and he ended up playing in college.
Nice. Good
So
for him.
you never know. I mean, I think he just
Uh,
put the work in.
yep. I train. Obviously, not naming anyone, but I train a lot of kids during the summertime,
Hmm.
all ages, like I said, and it will be individual work. And these parents will pay me to like put their kids through like an hour workout and work on things that they need to work on to like up their game. And I will work with some of these kids. Some of these kids, some of these parents will pay me money to work these kids out like 3, 4 times a week. And I have no problem with that. It's great. The kid loves to get into the gym, but this kid is just doesn't get it. I'm not saying speaking of one specific kid, but I'm just saying in general. I got
Right, right.
some that are just like they're not getting any better. And then the following summer, I'll see them again. Their parents put them in the gym, put them in the gym with me, put them in the gym, and I'm trying to teach them slowly, like how learning these kids how they think, how they learn, and how they like adapt, like how they try to get better. How everyone's different, and some of these kids they just will never have it, and it's tough to see when you're getting cash from these parents and being like, I really, my kid played in a game this weekend, and he missed a lot of layups. Like, can you work on layups? I'm like, God damn it, man! Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Is
not
it
something
just
you
that
could.
the is it just that the kid doesn't have the motor?
I wouldn't say motor. I would say like I don't know how to say it, but I'll use an example. I was a three-sport athlete in high school. I played football, I was a basketball player, and I did track. I
Hmm.
think I was great at all of them. I just figured out sports. You show me one thing and I'll try. If I can't do it, I'll eventually figure it out pretty quickly. Some of these kids can't do that.
Yeah, that makes
Does
sense.
that make sense? That's the
Yeah,
best
yeah.
way to explain it. They like you show them like I'm a kind of coach that like visual learner. So and most kids are. So I'll show them and then I'll help them through it, whether it's a drill or a post up move or how to shoot the basketball, whatever, doesn't matter. But like over time, like you tell them like you need to do this every single day, like every day, where it becomes a thing that you don't even think about anymore.
Hmm.
Right now, you have to think left foot first, right pivot, keep my left foot down, or whatever it is, or like elbow in, like whatever. They have to think, but like you need to get to a point where you're doing it so much that you don't even think about it anymore. But some of these kids just can't do that. Does that make
Right.
sense? Like I just
Yeah.
it's hard to like instill it into some of these kids because some of these kids are probably meant to do other things, to be honest.
Well, there's only so many Mookie Betts out there, like
Yeah.
that the guy who can you just show him a sport. You like, get him on like a lacrosse field and he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, sure, I'll figure it out." And everything just clicks instantly. There's not very many of those out there.
Yep.
And the rest of them, you have to really work and you have to have reps and you have to it's anything. You want the 10,000 hours,
Yeah. And
you
I'm
know?
like going like looking back on some of these kids, like legit. I'm not hating on any of these kids. I love these every single one of my kids that I work out. They are such hard workers, and I just wish that they could get. figure it out and get to the next level, but a lot of them couldn't or can't. But
Hmm.
anyway, some of these kids are trying to do certain things, and I'm not one of those trainers that are like put it under your legs twice and then try to blow by the guy and then do a step back. Like I don't do that. Mine is realistic basketball. So I'm not. I'm doing the most fundamental you can be. Like try to be a fundamentally sound basketball player when I teach these kids. And anyway, trying to teach these kids, obviously they can't figure it out. But then it's like you see them run down the court on defense, and they don't even know how to run correctly. So you're like, where do I even start? Do I start on that first, being an athlete first,
Hmm.
and then basketball player, or try to teach them to be a basketball player and then kind of work at being an athlete after? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Hmm.
tough. It's tough sometimes.
And that's part of it is probably they just didn't play kindergarten basketball,
Yeah.
because that's when you learn that stuff is you learn to run and not like it's a terrible phrase,
Run
but
proper. Yeah, no, I get it. I
not throw
100% get it.
not throw like a girl idea,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Yep, exactly. Like
It's
it's tough
if
for
you like
these kids to figure it out.
if you ever like do film stuff and they got to cast an athlete or cast someone to play an athlete, it's always funny to me like how rarely they have them go out and like go get on the floor and,
Mhm.
and like do the actual thing because you get like Vince Vaughn and Rudy and you're like this dude's never been on a football field in his life.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
you got to
Oh,
have
that definitely wasn't Vince Vaughn. That was a stuntman.
yeah, you got to have a guy, you got to know, I don't know, there's just an inherent athleticism that people have or they don't have, I think sometimes. And maybe it's just that
And
they didn't
and
play young.
for me, like I'm 100% sure you're going to agree on this. Like you can develop as an athlete. If you're not an athlete, if you're just a fish out of water when it comes to sports, and but you really like a sport, you can develop to be an athlete. But I don't think you can jump right into the sport without being an athlete first.
Yeah. Yeah, anytime you see like the story of like Hakeem Olajuwon, picking up basketball in college or whatever it was, and then you're like, wow, he got really good, and then you go, oh wait, he played soccer his entire life. Oh, okay.
Right.
You know, there's something like
So
that.
his
It's not,
footwork is phenomenal, and he knows like how to maneuver around his own body. Yeah, I'm sure
yeah,
he picked up basketball pretty quick.
it's not like, well, he was playing video games for 15 years, and then,
Yeah,
and then they threw him a basketball, and he went, oh, I can figure this out. It's being active and being out there and doing stuff. And that's probably, I'm going to guess, why you would advocate for kids to play multiple sports and
one
not
hundred
just play
percent,
basketball.
100%. You not only develop yourself as an athlete, you use different muscles in different sports, and that will all add to the level of play on your, let's say, priority sport. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Me joining track my junior and senior year in high school was the best thing for me. Not only did I get in better shape, but I learned more about like my body as like a runner, a jumper, and that's a big deal in basketball. And it carried over into basketball 100% into football then basketball season. So like all sports have that, that thing. Obviously, you need to have your kid interested in the sport itself in the first place. But like in
Hmm.
general, you need to get if your kid is, one sport athlete, it's tough to like really maximize yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I ran cross country, and the joke was always that I'm just doing this to get in shape for basketball season. But then when basketball season rolled around, I was legitimately in shape because I'm like, oh, I've been running like 3-4 miles every day,
Hmm.
and the guys who weren't doing cross country, we do the thing where you're doing 20 laps at the beginning of practice, and that was easy for me. And they're always like, oh my gosh, I'm dying.
Yep.
So I mean, it all adds up. All
Yep.
right, I've
Exactly.
I have taken enough of your time. I think we've gone way over. Anything you want to add to tell the main basketball community?
No, I'm just, I just from a main high school basketball vet, I would say that, for me, like I am following. I do follow. Not as much as I used to, and it's tough to like really see what's going on a lot of the time, but I do
Hmm.
follow, and I love seeing the success stories that have been happening in Maine as of the last couple of years. It's great, and it helps me. Selfishly, it helps me talk about where I'm from over here more because they'll have an idea where Maine is in the first place. So that's great.
I'll
But
tell you a
yeah,
quick. I'll
Go ahead.
tell you a quick overseas story that happened to a friend of mine. So a friend of mine from college is in Israel, and he runs into this dude from Maine. And he goes, and this guy's kind of a smartass. And he goes, "Oh, you're from Maine. I bet you know Lucas." And the guy just stops. He's like, "Yeah, I went to high school with him."
Oh, that's so stereotypical for us.
I know, right? All right, that is the show. Thank you so much, Troy, for joining me. This has been fantastic. I'm gonna read the dumb little outro now. Uh, Excuse me. This has been a production of MaineBasketballRankings.com, your source for the most comprehensive coverage of Maine high school basketball from Ashland to York and everywhere in between. This is available wherever you listen to podcasts and a bunch of places you don't. If you enjoy it, please leave a nice review. And Troy, where can people find you? Twitter is
Yeah, you can. I'm pretty active on all my social media platforms. So if you want to follow what's going on, especially Instagram, I share a lot of how our season's going, and pretty much every single day on my Instagram. So just type in my name if you're interested and check it out.
because he's got the playoffs coming up. He's got 2 rounds of
Yeah,
playoffs coming up,
they,
and so can they stream these games? I tried to stream a game and it did not go well.
they do. They do stream. I had family members try to stream them, but the thing is, it's like some. I think it's regional lock. So if you have a VPN, it'd be a W for you. But it's broadcasting rights and all that stuff, and it's annoying. But they're possibly in playoffs. I think that might change, but if it does, obviously on my social medias, I'll update people because I get hit up all the time with people wanting to watch. I
Sure,
mean, I'd
especially
let
playoffs.
so yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining me.
Lucas.
And this has been fantastic.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. This was fun.
All right. I'm going to hit the end recording now, and we'll see you next time.
Anytime you want to shoot the shit, I'm always down. I love
Awesome.
talking stuff like this.